So we're gonna make a folder called bcrypt example, and in there, I'm gonna create a couple files, do these things. Yeah, we're gonna npm install bcrypt, and we're gonna create a thing called app.js. So cd into, oh, I accidentally created two folders here. I'll make another one. Make dir bcrypt example. Okay, and in here npm install bcrypt. Actually, we're not going to do bcrypt. We're going to do bcrypt.js. It's just like bcrypt is older, and they stopped updating it, and now they update bcrypt.js instead. And then I'm going to create a thing called app.js, and then let's take a look at that in the code editor. Sorry? Yeah. Or you can just do this and then you can push it to GitHub and get a green square. Okay, in here, const bcrypt equals require bcrypt.js. And by the way, the reason this whole hash thing is secure is because of the extent of the randomness. So if someone is gonna break into your password, they basically have to guess your password. And so the most common way of like trying to hack into an account is you get a machine that just guesses many different possible combinations, and they try many things. Yeah, Jimmy. Oh yeah. That's just because I copied and pasted. But so when they're trying to do like many guesses per second, the thing about these hashes is that if you have, for example, a hash of, let's say, 64 characters, the number of combinations that you can have is so big that, check out this little thing right here. This is a smaller number than the number for that bcrypt. A bcrypt password has a bigger number of possibilities than this. This is the number of possible combinations of when you shuffle a deck of cards. So if you pick a spot on the equator, and then once every billion years you take one step, and then at that rate, every time you go all the way around the Earth, you take one drop of water out of the Pacific Ocean. Then after you complete that process, circling the Earth by taking one step every billion years, enough times to empty the entire Pacific Ocean, you put one piece of paper down on the ground, like in Texas, and then you fill the Pacific Ocean up again, and then you repeat the process again, one step every billion years. When you get around, one drop of water, one drop of water. When the stack of papers is so thick that it reaches the sun, then you have to do that 1,000 more times. So that's how big the number is. So can any computer guess that number of things in a short number of time? Right now, probably not, but probably in the future, yes. Probably soon, we probably can have a thing that guesses that number of things. But bcrypt has an added thing to it that gives it extra security. So check this out. So the way you use it is you just got to require it like you do with all the other npm packages, and then you create this thing. You don't actually have to create it in a variable. There's no reason to actually do that. You can just you can just use a number here. Same thing. But let's take a look at, this is hello world with a capital H. This is hello world with a lowercase h. The two steps for spinning up a password and hashing it with bcrypt is you create the salt like this, bcrypt.gensaltsync parentheses a number, and this number is going to impact the security. So this is basically how many times they hash it. They hash it and then rehash it and then rehash it and then rehash it. So I'm going to run this file here, and you're going to see that these two variables are using the same salt that's created at the same moment, but they're hashing two different strings. They're almost the same string, but they just have one letter different. And so you notice that I can't highlight at the same time. I can't. You'll notice that those things are the same on them. That's the salt. It saves the salt as part of as like the front. It has like a little. It's not the actual salt. It's like the signature of the salt. And the reason it does that is because obviously at a certain point we're gonna have to like check your password. So given that it's all super secure and that no one can ever unscramble it, bcrypt has to actually like be able to check to see if your password is the same. So it saves the salt in the front because then bcrypt knows that it's going to use that salt to like when you type in like, oh, this is my password, like coolboy55, it's going to take that string and then hash it with that same salt that we saved the original one with. But if you look at the rest of this thing, it's totally not the same at all. Actually, that's not true. The beginning is the same. EP5UM. So we got a certain amount of the same stuff. I guess this is all the salt signature. Where does it start being different? Right around here. This is where it starts being different. So that's the actual password being hashed at the end there. And you can see that it uses lowercase, capital, numbers, and like slashes and stuff, whatever. So it has a lot of characters. So anyway, that's how you use it. And so all we got to do is basically take this logic and put it inside of a create route, just like a movie create route, except it's going to be user create route. So let's do that. I'm going to be doing it in my library app, and then you guys afterward are going to do it in the movie celebrity app. So step one, new model, user. And I'll just copy one of these other models. User schema. Const okay, so regular old schema, import mongoose, define the actual schema, and then create the mongoose model using the schema, and then export at the bottom. And all we have is username and password, their string. And again, you don't have to do this type string thing. You can just do this. Okay. Then, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but step two, I need a routes file for user routes. New file, user routes.js. And I'll do, what is it? Let's just look at one of these. Actually, I'll copy this. And before I do anything, well, actually not before I do that. Let's do router.get/signup. And in this route, let's just res render a thing for now. Res render, user views, sign up. And I just made this up. It doesn't exist yet. I'm going to have to go create that right now. But before I create it, I'm going to open app.js and connect that routes file. Otherwise, none of those routes are going to work. So const user routes equals require routes slash user routes. App.use. Okay. Then I'm going to create this file. So I'm going to create a folder called user views, and then I'm going to create a file called signup in that folder. So it's going to be in the views folder. Views. User views. And here we'll say hi. Okay, let's check it out. Slash signup is the route. Okay, it exists. So what are we going to put on this route? On this view, we're going to put a form. So just like to create a new book or create a new movie or whatever, creating a new user, similar type of thing. So I'll put a little h1 sign up, and then a form, and then the method on the form is going to be post, and the action is going to be something, whatever I want, because I don't have the route yet, so I get to decide what I want the route to be. Let's have it be also sign up. By the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but you can have two different routes, router.post/signup, and that's not the same route as the one above it, even though they're both /signup. This is a different route than this because the full name of the route is the post signup. It's the post and the signup together. So you can have two routes with the same name if one's get and one's post. And I'm going to do that here. You can have routes with the same name if one is get and one is post. And in the form, I'm going to have two inputs. And this one, name equals the username. Name equals the password. So, since this thing, name is the username, and this thing, name is the password, and the action is sign up and methods post, that means that it's going to go to this route, and that in that route, we're going to have equals rec.body.the username, because of that. The password. And then what we want to do is user.create with that stuff. But before we do that, we're going to do the bcrypt stuff. So all this stuff, we're just going to take this. This is going to be basically just a normal route. It's just that down here we're going to do, user.create. Oh, come on. It's because I don't have it imported. But before we do that, we're going to do all the bcrypt stuff. So up at the top, I have a couple things to import or require or whatever. Const user equals require /model/user. Then const bcrypt equals require bcrypt.js. However, we have not installed bcrypt.js in this project, so not in bcrypt example. Let me find, what's this thing called? Library app? npm install bcrypt.js. Okay. So now we have user, we have bcrypt. Okay, cool. So now down here, what we're going to do is all that bcrypt stuff. Where'd that other one go? Here it is. Okay. So we got that. We only have one password, so we don't need both of these. And we don't really need a console log. So the three things we really need, well, we actually already grabbed the password. So really just we need these two things. We need to create a salt, and then we need to use that salt to create a hash using that password. So here, salt equals bcrypt.gen salt sync 10. And here we create a thing called hash1. And what we're going to use is not plain password1, but instead password. Yes?
What's the reasoning behind using the word sync?
I don't know. Salt sync. No idea. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what sync has to do with any of this. Syncing. But anyway, so we create the salt. Oh, and by the way, the bigger the number you put in here, the longer it's going to take to run. So, like, if we go back to if we look at this bcrypt example thing, if I change this 10, because remember, if I run node app.js, that's how long it takes. But if I change this 10 to a 12, and I run, it takes a bit longer. And if I change it to 16, it takes a lot longer. The reason it matters is because, remember how I said the most common way of hacking into an account is to guess many, many passwords per second? Well, that's as fast as you can guess. If you're doing a hash sync with 16, well, actually, that's as fast as my computer can do that. But my point is that the bigger the number you do, each guess, each hash is more and more computationally expensive. So if someone makes a new computer that can do this one a billion times per second, then you just make a bigger number. So they have kind of like a plan for the arms race, the security arms race. Anyway, we're going to leave it at 10 because that's what they say in the documentation, and I'm not a cybersecurity expert. They just say 10 is good enough, so I believe them. Yeah, because then when they sign up, it's like it takes longer. So they're gonna notice that. Because if the criminals have the supercomputer, you have to also have the supercomputer. So I've done 20 here before, and it took like 10, 20 minutes. Okay, so now that we got this hash thing majiggy here, let's just call it hash. No, I need to call it hash1. That's the thing we're going to do user.create with. So we're going to do user.create, and we got to give it a username something and password something. Why that? Because that's what you put on the left side when you do .create, the things that are inside the model. So username is just going to be username, but password is going to be hash. Dot then dot catch and I don't know, res redirect to this. And remember our error handler. By the way, let's take a look at that error handler just real quick. It may still seem a little bit convoluted after this explanation, but The reason this next error thing works for us is because the next object is referring to in app.js the next thing. So if you're in, for example, if something bad happens here and there's an error, it won't go to the then. Instead, it will go to the catch. And so it will run the next object and it'll pass the error into it. So the next, right now, well, let's say it happened in book routes, right? If it goes to the next thing, it would go to here. But the way routes are configured, it's not going to it's not going to do anything with the input unless the input matches one of the routes that we define in there. So it's going to get the error here, and it's going to be like, that error does not match any of my routes. Next. And then it's going to go to the next, and it's going to be like, that error does not match any of my routes. And then what happens is this app is not actually our app. Our app is actually in bin www. There's this file called bin www that's like not actually JavaScript, but it's written in JavaScript. But anyway. And here we require our app.js from the other file over there. And here is where our errors end up when we do next error. And so these are our three error handlers. Wait, no, two, three. One is this one. This one receives that error, and if the error says something, I don't know exactly the inside of it, but there's something about it. It's like, if error dot message is that the thing is not found, then do this. And that's when you get that 404 page. You know how it says 404, not found? That's actually a view. I don't know if you looked at that view. In views, we have a thing called not found, and it's just says 404 error. You can change it. You can be like, bruh, you don't have this route, bruh. Come on. And from now on, if I do a route that I don't have, you know, slash that, it'll be like, bro, we don't have that route. Come on. So it's literally just, it's not like magic. It's literally just this thing that it just sends it here, and then these are just basically more routes that are specially made for errors. But anyway, I digress. So we create our user. So let's test this thing out. So we're not going to get a lot of feedback right now if it works. It's just going to redirect back to the home page. But I'm going to keep Compass open. And so I'm going to try to sign up and then check if it worked just looking in Compass. Okay, so sign up. Let's be coolboy55, obviously. And if you don't want the password to show up, by the way, that's pretty easy. That's just on the HBS file. Type for the input. Type password is a default HTML thing that just makes the password look like nothing's there. So let's do it like that. Cool boy. I don't want you guys to hack me, you know. Okay, so it went back to the home page. So let's look in Compass. My thing is called the library example, and here I got a user, and my user is, come on. What? Try that again. There it is. Okay. User is coolboy55, and you can see the password looks nothing like, well, you don't know what I typed in, but between you and me, his password is coolboy55 also. So it looks nothing like his password, and so sign up is complete. So let's do login. Anyone want me to go over any of that stuff again before we move to logging in? router.
Oh,
Always the thing that you do, whatever equals express.router, you can call it whatever you want. A lot of the time they call it like, user routes. But then you have to, that's the thing, it's the same thing that you do that thing.get. That thing.get, that thing.post. Yes, app.js. Only thing I changed was that. Yeah. Oh, you gotta npm install bcrypt. Oh, but then when you did the require, did you do require bcrypt or did you do require bcrypt.js? Yeah, no, but the first example has that. So if you look at the little bcrypt example, at the top you got to say const bcrypt equals require bcrypt.js. This thing, there's a formula to this thing. It's not like magic. It's like you always get to call it whatever you want. Usually I call it the thing that they call it in the documentation. But you do require, and then the thing inside the require is the same thing that you did npm install that thing. Okay, so logging in. Okay, let's do it. So now we're going to be in this other lecture, this one, authentication and sessions. So logging in is not, sign up is just like create for movies or whatever, but it's just for users. Logging in, there's not a thing that's just like it. It's kind of its own thing. So we're going to introduce a couple new concepts right now. Sessions and cookies, session, it's kind of one concept put together. So basically, we're going to be using sessions to keep track of our users. It's not the only way. There are other ways to keep track of users. Basically, the thing is this. We need to have a variable that is accessible, that exists in all our routes. Not, because you know how if you have rec.params or rec.body, that only exists for one route, right? Like one request. You got rec.body. If you go to a new page, you're not going to keep having that old rec.body from the last route. That only exists in that route. So we want to save our user. When I log in, I want to be able to know who the user is, even when I go to a new page and then another page, then another page, and then another page. And it would be pretty annoying to keep, like, I don't know, putting the user's ID in the URL for every single one and grabbing it and from rec.params. That seems tedious. So we're going to use a session. Other ways of doing it, local storage, like authentication tokens. There's all kinds of things, but they're all the same basic concept. They all use the same concept as a cookie. A cookie is, you may have in the 90s heard that cookies are bad, or I don't know if you were paying attention in the 90s, but they used to be on like old browsers. It would be like all these things to disable cookies because everybody hated cookies. But actually, cookies can usually be a good thing. If they're abused for ad purposes, then that's whack. But a cookie is just this. I go to a website, like Facebook, let's say, and when I go, I log in and I type my stuff in and I hit enter and it logs me in and says, yes, that's you. And then when it does that, it sends me a little like number thing, a long number, letters, whatever, scrambled hash thing. It's just like a unique code. And that's my cookie. And my computer holds that my computer holds it, is what I'm saying. It's not being stored on the server, it's being stored on my actual computer. And then they give it some code so that every time I make another request to facebook.com, that cookie gets sent with the request. And so with every request, they know who I am. And so they can say, oh yeah, that cookie, that's for Nick Borby with this, this profile and all this stuff. So we're not going to do anything manual with cookies. The cookies will be handled through a package called Cookie Parser. But just so you know, that's just how they work, and you can see them when you go into, where is it? It says right here, application, cookies. You probably have a few right now. I have one right now because I'm logged into the learning platform. So it's common to use cookies for, and see, this, it also says local storage. That's something else that you could use for this, but we're going to use cookies. I guess the Ironhack website uses both. Anyway, so with the cookie, it's going to enable us to have a session, and the session is the thing that we're really going to mess with and actually do stuff with and interact with. We're not going to interact with the cookie. We're not going to set the cookie. We're not going to read the cookie. Nothing. It's just going to get manually done by this package, and then we're going to set up a session, and then that's how we're going to actually keep track of our users. So the session is just an object that exists like rec.body, you know, but it just keeps existing. It doesn't get erased. That's all it is. So it just keeps existing. So anyway, let's make a login route. So we're going to do it manually first, and then in the afternoon I'm going to show you a package called Passport that has a bunch of fancy stuff for this. So first, we're going to install these two things, Express Session and Connect Mongo. I don't know if you're aware. In case you're not, you can install two things at the same time just by having space in between. Yeah. Oh, it's not a global, and I'm also doing it in the wrong folder right now. Okay. Here. In my library app, npm install express-session and connect-mongo. Okay. Then we're going to copy and paste this. This is from, I put this link in Slack, so it's the authentication lesson, right? Authentication lesson. And where did we get this? How do we know that this is the code? We just got this off of the documentation for this thing. This one, the Mongo store thing. This thing has documentation. If you go on npm.js, wait, what's it actually called? It's called Mongo store. Mongo store. This is actually a different one. This is connect-mongo store instead of connect-mongo. Connect-mongo. That one. And just has documentation, and somewhere on there, we may have an older version of the documentation. This may be newer, maybe slightly different. At one point or another, though, I assure you that the way we generated this piece of code is that we went on this page and we copied it. So that's how you, when you do npm packages, you just go on the site, look for them. Typically, the thing that you should, because you can have bad packages, typically this is the main thing you want to look at. If it has 66,000 downloads per week, then it's probably not a scam. And also, more importantly, if you Google Stack Overflow questions about it, 66,000 people per week can answer your questions. But anyway, this code right here, this is going to go down in our app.js right around, kind of up to you exactly where it goes, but before the routes. So somewhere before the routes, let's just do it right before the routes. Why not? App.use, and this secret thing, you can literally put anything here. It doesn't matter what you put. Super secret key. It's just going to be used in the encryption, decryption process. And to be honest, I don't really know exactly how it works because I have never needed to debug it. But anyway, this cookie, it says max age 60,000, which is only 60 seconds, but it's misleading because what this thing is doing is it's replicating our session in our database. So like every request, it re-updates the session in the database. That way, if something happens with the computer or the server, if the server, I don't know, if the power goes out on the server and then they have to go to a new server, it'll still have the session information ready to go. And this is how long that session stays good for, 1 day. So you can change that if you want. This, like, basically your user will stay logged in for 24 hours. Okay, so actually, yeah, that's all we need. So now let us make a new route to view the login page, and then we're going to need to make a view to see the form, and then we're going to need to make a post route to get the information and to log in. So in user routes, router.get/login. And here we're just going to render user views/login. And the login page, I'm pretty much just going to straight up copy the sign up because it's basically the same form. Except I'm going to change the title up there, and then also I'm going to change the action. I'm going to send it to login. But everything else, we don't need anything else. The two inputs are going to be the same. We're going to have one for username, one for password. So then I should make this route, post/login. Router.post/login, rec, res, next. And step one is going to be the same thing as it was in this route. I'm just going to grab the username and the password because I need to know those two things. Okay. And then I'm going to use a bcrypt method called bcrypt.compare sync. Oh, actually, I'm going to do something else first. I'm going to copy this whole thing, and I'll show you what this means. Before we do bcrypt.compare sync, we're going to do this. User.find1. And we are going to try to find some user whose username is equal to this variable. We are trying to find a user whose username is equal to the username variable we just created. Only we're not actually trying to find it. We're hoping that we don't find it because if there's no user, well, actually, sorry, I misspoke. We're trying to find the user with that username. If there's no user, we're going to re-render the same page with an error message that says, sorry, that user doesn't exist. However, I don't like this. I don't like this error handler because it's not. We're res rendering on a post request, and that's a bad habit. So we're not going to do that because really this is like it's like a placeholder for how to do it the correct way, which I'm going to show you later today anyway. So forget about that. If no user, all we're going to do is res redirect to the home page. So right now our error handler is really not very good error handler. It's not going to give us any information. We're not going to know what went wrong, but we'll handle that later. But so if we can't find the user, we just res redirect. But so this is the method bcrypt.compareSync, and we just need to give it two arguments, the two things. It's going to take those two things. It's going to hash them using the same salt, whichever one that the second one. It's expecting that the second one is already hashed, so it's going to read the second one. It's going to hope that the second one has a salt signature in it. It's going to read that salt signature, and it's going to hash this thing with that salt signature, except I named this thing the wrong thing. It's just called password because that's what I named my variable up there. So it reads this thing, grabs the salt out of it, hashes this with the same salt, and then if they're the same thing, then we do this. And this is the line. This is the magic line. This is the magic line of code that actually logs you in. That. Rec.session.currentUser equals user. What is the user? User is this thing in the dot then, oops, in the dot then that we get back from the user.find1. So it's the user from the database. Let's call this user from DB. So we're going to take the user from the database and we're going to equal rec.session.current user to that thing. So this thing is made up, current user. You can call it whatever you want. You can do rec.session.blah is that. Doesn't matter. I'll leave it as current user because that makes sense. But so this, like I said, rec.session, well, I didn't call it rec.session before, but session is just an object. So if this thing is an object, then doing that object.currentUser equals something, you're just creating a new key in the object, right? And this is how you do it. You can do it anytime you want, in any route, anytime, in a post route, in a get route, anywhere. You always have access to rec.session, and you can print what's in there, or you can change what's in there. So let's do this. My home page, which is something I haven't messed with at all. That's here, index.js, this route. Let's do this. Let's, instead of res rendering the index page, let's res.send rec.session. So when we go to the home page, we're just going to see what's in the session. That's it. So I wonder what's there right now. Did they create a session in the beginning? No? I have an error. Wait, where does it say session's not defined? Session's not defined, app.js 54. App.js 54. Really? Oh no, I forgot those two things. Oops, sorry. So I npm installed those two packages. I have to require both of them. So const session equals require express session, and const, what did I call it down here? Yeah, but it has like a capital or something. Here, yeah, there. Const Mongo store equals require connect Mongo. Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. Like, wait, let me just look at it. Oh, okay. I see. Like this. Okay, let's see what I wonder if it creates a session for me in the beginning. It does. Okay, so this is my session. Right now, the only thing in there is like the default stuff. The cookie, it just has some meta information about the cookie, and there's nothing else there. But check this out. Let's go to some random route, right? Let's check out the books route where you see all the books, right? This one. I'm just gonna do in here arbitrarily. I'm gonna say, you know what? Anytime I go to /books rec, I'm gonna say if rec.session.counter, if that thing exists, rec.session.counter plus plus. Else rec.session.counter equals 1. So every time I go here, it's going to count the number of times I go to that route. So let's check that out. Go here. Let's go to /books. Okay, if I go back to the home page now, counter 1. /books. Go back to the home page. Counter 2. So it's not a special thing that you can only do with logging in. It's something you can literally do wherever you want. This is a useless example of how you can edit the session whenever, however you want.
So by doing that, you just created like a random.
Just a random thing in the session.
But you don't have to declare before you can just do rec.session.counter.
Yeah.
And it already has it.
Boom. That's it. Rec.session.counter equals a thing, and now it exists. Because that's how objects work, right? If you have an object, you can say that object dot color equals blue, and then it exists. So it has no, there's no special setter or getter method or anything. Okay, so anyway, going back to the user routes, that's what we're doing here. We're saying rec.session.currentUser equals that user from the database, and then we redirect back to the home page. Else, also I don't like this error handler because we're going to do a better error handler in a second. So not in a second, but in a few minutes. So for right now, we're going to not have any good. We're going to have a terrible error handler that doesn't do anything useful at all. But just be patient, and we'll have a much better one in a little while. So let's check it out. Let's try to log in, see if it works. Coolboy55, coolboy55, submit. And now current user is, we have username coolboy55, ID, password, and if coolboy55 had a more interesting profile, we would have all that information right there. And now I'm annoyed by not having my nav bar and stuff, so I'm going to change this route back to how it was so that we see the index page. And let's see, what's next? I mean, that is login and sign up. Oh, the only thing left to do, I guess, would be to log out. And then we're going to implement some like fancy stuff. Basically, the whole point of this is you want people to be able to do different things when they're logged in versus when they're not logged in. So we're going to do the most basic version of that by just having like a secret page that you can only go to when you're logged in. But first, we're going to log out. So logging out is really easy. Let's go like this. Let's make another route. Router.post/logout rec res next. And all we're going to do is rec.session.destroy. And then res redirect back to the home page. That one's really easy, just like that. So then, let's make our secret page. I'm going to put the secret page in the user routes, just because I don't know where else to put it. I'm not going to make a whole routes file just for one route. So let's do router.get/secret rec res next, and we will res render secret. Sorry, no slash, secret. And so I got to create that view. I'll do it in, well, let's do user views, user views /secret. And in here, we'll make a thing called secret.hbs. And here we'll just say, hi, this is the secret page. Okay, so right now, as it stands, we can go to that secret page, no matter what. Actually, I am logged in right now. Let me log out. Oh, I can't log out. I need a button. I need a button to log out. Let me put a button to log out because it's a post route. So going to /logout will not log me out. So let me get a little button. Where should I put it? I'll put it in the nav bar for now. Where's mine? Oh yeah, in layout. That's right. All these A tags, let's put a form, action, /logout, method, post, button that says logout. Okay, now I'm really logged out. Okay, but I can still go to the /secret page, is my point. Right, so I need to restrict access. And the good news is that restricting access is no fancy thing. It's basically if I were to tell you to sit here and think about it for a few minutes and try to figure out how you would do it, you probably would come up with the exact way that I'm about to show you, which is this. If rec.session.currentUser, remember if you put in an if statement, this thing, it means if that thing is truthy, if it's a truthy value, if it exists. If that thing exists, render the page. Else, res redirect to the home page. That's it. And we would do a message, so it'd be like, sorry, you can't see here, you're not allowed. But again, I haven't showed you the cool error handler thing, so when we do that, we'll do that, and it'll be much cooler, and then we'll have a nice little message, and it'll be awesome. But for now, it's just going to be like this. So now check it out. So now I'm not logged in. If I go to /secret, it's like, haha, nope. But if I log in as coolboy55, then I can go to /secret, and it's like, hey, this is the secret page. And then you can do even more stuff. So this route here, secret, what if I want to put the user's information here? The nice thing about that is I don't have to do a find by ID thing to see. Anytime you want to see the user's information, if you want a profile page or whatever, no find by ID necessary, because I'm just going to be like, okay, the user is equal to rec.session.currentUser, because you always have access to it. So boom, now I have a thing called the user, and on my secret page, I'm going to be like, hi, this is the secret page. Welcome the user.username. And you can do that on any route. You can always have access to the current user. So, welcome, coolboy55. And then, furthermore, you can do something like this. Let's put a link to the secret page on this page with all the books, right? That is the book list HBS file. Right up at the top, /secret, secret page. So now there's this link, and it takes me there. Oh no, it doesn't take me there. Yeah, so it doesn't take me there. But I want to do one step further. I want to not even see it unless I'm logged in. I want it to be, if I'm logged in, I see the link, and if I'm not logged in, I don't see the link. So what route is this? This is the /books route. So that's in my book routes right here. And what I'm going to do is see how I pass in books as all the books. Let's pass in books as all the books. And let's also pass in the user as rec.session.current user. Then, in that page, the book list page, you just put this in an if. Hashtag if the user, show me that. So now I don't even see it unless I'm logged in. So here it's not there. Go to login, coolboy55. Oops. And now it's there. Now I can go. Yay! And we're going to get fancier in the afternoon. So from now till probably lunch, I want you to add all this same stuff to your movie celebrity app. The assignment is this. You're going to be able to sign up. You're going to be able to log in. You're going to be able to log out. And then you're going to have one page at least that you can't go to unless you're logged in. Cool? Anyone, you want to see anything else again? I can go over one of these things one more time. Not? Good luck. And I'm going to push it to GitHub right now.